There have been conflicts of interest with attorneys for far less than this. You think that perhaps some point you want to divorce your spouse, and you have a conversation with a couple of lawyers. Your spouse can no longer retain any of those lawyers just because you had a conversation. So this woman, Kara Northington, whose daughter was violently murdered in Idaho, she is now facing the reality that the person she trusted most with 4 of her cases is now representing her daughter's accused killer.
Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies starts now.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. Boy, this case has taken a turn today. We have so much to get into. We're going to be talking about Bryan Kohberger. We're going to be talking about the roommates, sororities, the Greek life, and how this could have impacted the 911 call made at 11:58 a.m. on November 13th. A lot of you guys have questions about that 8-hour delay. We're going to talk about Bethany and Dylan. We're going to talk about stalking behavior by Bryan, the controversy regarding Bryan's defense attorney, Ann Taylor, and Xana's mom, Kara, who is feeling very upset about the fact that her attorney, who is also Bryan's defense attorney, removed herself from Kara's case to defend Bryan. So let's get started with the sororities. Why were friends called by either Bethany or Dylan first? Why was there this 8-hour gap from when Dylan saw the masked man leave at 1122 King Road and that 911 call to law enforcement? And why hasn't Bethany said anything about this case? She has been silent. We haven't heard anything about her statements or what she saw or what she didn't see in any of the information that's come forward so far. In November, 2 of the 3 sororities of the students, they were on disciplinary probation, and this is according to community accountability records. So of 10 sororities recognized by the University of Idaho, Alpha Pi and Phi Beta Phi were the only 2 listed as on probation for health and safety reasons, which refers to, quote, violations or concerns regarding risk management, alcohol/medications, I'm watching my words here, or hazing. So were one of these 3 things related to this 8-hour delay in calling law enforcement? What do you think about this? Leave me a comment in the comment section below. So let's talk about stalking, and then I do want to dig into Xana's mom and her feelings about Bryan's lawyer. Is she justified in feeling this way? So we're going to talk about this in just a moment, so please stay with me. Being aware of stalking behavior may save your life or the life of someone you know. So when a stalker picks his or her target, it's often someone who was in a past relationship with this person. That is not the case here. At first, when someone is stalking someone else, their conduct can seem somewhat normal and may not initially set off any type of alarms or raise any red flags, and the stalker might reach out several times giving unwanted attention. And we've heard about the DMs that Bryan allegedly sent on Instagram to either Xana, Maddie, or Kaylee. Now, Bryan is innocent until proven guilty, and he has not had his day in court yet. But initially, the stalker will seem pretty normal. But then it begins to escalate. Now, a lot of stalkers will spend several months online looking up any and all information that they can find on their person that they're fixated on. And after that, this person may move on to DMs, and this is where we do know about Bryan. Now, will we find out from the computer tower that was removed from Bryan's apartment, will we find out that he was indeed looking up either Kaylee, Maddie, and or Xana? So why do people stalk? Each type of stalker is seeking something specific from the person that they're watching. There are 5 types of stalkers, and let's see which one Bryan falls under. There's the rejected stalker, so they would have had a relationship with someone. That is not the case here. There's the resentful stalker. Again, there's no relationship, so nothing to get involved with here. There's the intimacy seeker. This is a maybe. He could have been seeking intimacy. And then there's the incompetent suitor. Now, this person is generally harmless, so I don't think this is the case. And then the fifth one is the predatory stalker. And I believe that Bryan falls under the predatory stalker type. And this is why. And tell me what you think in the comment section below. This type of person does not usually know the victim. They follow with an intent to physically harm and essay the victim. In fact, they're motivated by essay. Now, I know I'm going to get comments that Bryan didn't essay anyone. And again, he's innocent until proven guilty. But this is true. But there were things going on that night that whoever broke into the house, and I'm just going to say Bryan because he's been indicted, didn't expect. One was that Ethan was spending the night. Two, Kaylee was not supposed to be there. She had come into town with Murphy to visit. Three was that DoorDash delivery that occurred around 4 a.m. for Xana. So I think he may have been surprised and taken back at what happened, and this may have caught him off guard. The reason I believe Bryan is a predatory stalker is because he didn't make himself known. He didn't call excessively or leave notes that we know of. And when this type of stalker is following a victim, they usually don't make themselves known. What do you guys think? So here's how Xana's mom feels.
I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken because I trusted her. She pretended that she was wanting to help me, and to find that out that she's representing him, I can't even convey how betrayed I feel.
There's been mixed reactions to Kara online, and here's my opinion. Before we judge Kara, Maddie's stepmom Corey, and Maddie's dad, let's remember they were loved by Maddie and Xana and put that first and foremost. For those of you who are watching this case from another country, please know that treatment for this type of problem is very hard to get in the United States. We do not have a national health care program. So because it's rarely covered by health insurance, only 1 in 10 Americans who need treatment ever get it. And even fewer receive high quality care that's actually rooted in scientific evidence. Medications are one of the best, most effective ways that we have to treat this, but many cannot get them. In fact, 60% of residential treatment facilities don't offer any type of addiction medication, and only 1% offer all 3 types of addiction medication. 1%. So I'm going to talk about Bryan's defense attorney, Ann Taylor. Do you think she should recuse herself? Do you think someone else needs to take over? Do you think she should stay on the case? And we're going to talk about this in just a second, so please stay with me. Everything I'm sharing with you today is my opinion, and opinions are not facts. So please don't send any negativity to anyone. Let's be kind to each other. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up so I know you were here. Let's continue on. Court records show that Bryan's attorney, Ann Taylor, filed an attorney withdrawal notice in the Kootenai, and boy, I hope I'm saying that correctly, County Court for Xana Kanoodle's mother, Kara, on January 5th. This was the same day that Bryan made his first appearance in the courtroom. This conflict may not have been realized by Ann Taylor until January 5th. So since Ann Taylor took over the public defender's office in 2017, her office has defended Xana's mom in 4 cases. Reported that the most recent case was filed against Xana's mom on November 19th, less than 1 week before Xana, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee were done away with. Should Ann Taylor recuse herself from this case? Subscribe.